Now let us go to the next question, doctor. Small intestinal tumor, why is it associated with the obstruction? Basically, small intestinal tumors arise in duodenum, jejunum and ileum. They can be intraluminal, they can be infiltrative, or they can be serosal. That's how we classify it. They differ in their presentation. If it is an intraluminal small intestinal bowel tumor, then secondary bowel obstruction and intussusception are the major complications leading to the development of obstruction. Whereas if it is a serosal tumor of the small bowel, then the volvulus is the more common cause for the obstruction of the bowel is what need to be remembered. So bowel obstruction constitutes the complication about 30% of the benign bowel tumors, and most common cause out of them would be the intussusception in the adults. The small bowel tumor, especially if it is intraluminal, is what need to be remembered. Now pharyngoesophageal reflux, how many heard it for the first time in entrance? So good number of questions will be there for first time. We need not read and answer every question. We heard of gastroesophageal reflux. There is a little bigger brother of him called pharyngoesophageal reflux. Basically the underlying phenomena is similar in both the cases. 24-hour ambulatory pH monitoring is very much considered to be a gold standard in order to demonstrate the pharyngoesophageal reflux. Subglottic stenosis is known to be a complication of even pharyngolaryngeal reflux, and it is not the eosinophil laden, rather it is the lymphocyte laden. Histology is a very classical feature, and the lipid laden macrophages constitute 85% of the cellular population of the pharyngoesophageal reflux disease is what need to be remembered. Marion's disease is a bladder neck stenosis is what need to be remembered. Double bubble sign in the duodenal atresia. What is this disease, doctor? Marion or Mason or what is it? Huh? No, Paris comes next. Before that Amsterdam is there. So what is this question? I am also not very sure. Strawberry angioma, what is the management of choice, doctor? Yes, few things are ignored in life. So basically, doctor, it will regress by the age it is 5 years. And with most of them will regress by the time it is 10 years of age. You are living in India, but if you are living in US, what is the chance the little child can go and sue the father in the court of law? Strawberry angioma is mistaken for a child abuse. So that is the reason, because it is very similar in its appearance of a bruise. So that is the reason you must be doubly sure about. So the mainstay of treatment generally is muscle inactivity, but sometimes steroid can have a role, and if at all interferons also have a role, but generally it will involute by itself by the time it is 5 years is what need to be remembered. Metastasis is least common. What was your favorite answer for this question? Yes? I am not still sure about the answer. We will pick up a little later. Coming to the acute pancreatitis in the case of the children, what is the most common cause? Generally the rate of pancreatitis in children is 2.7 cases per 1 lakh. In children younger than 15 years, it is a blunt trauma. Abdomen is the most common cause is what need to be remembered. Some questions we will take at the end. Now this is an interesting question. Child presents with hepatosplenomegaly, failure to thrive, and cirrhosis of liver is also there. Did he also give in the exam a floppy child or something like that? Hypotonia was also there. Then what else is required? We will make the diagnosis now. How many answered von Gech? You are lucky, number 1. Very good. So only thing is a little sad news that it is not von Gech. So why it is not von Gech, we will prove it. So basically von Gech, doctor, the affected infants will be healthy at birth. That's what need to be understood. Hypoglycemic episodes will be there. There will be no splenomegaly. Liver is firm and uniform in consistency, and there is no risk of developing cirrhosis in the case of the von Gech compared to that of the other glycogen storage disorders. Now, if you go to the glycogen storage type 3, it is also called the Cory's disease or Forbes disease or a limit dextrinosis, and it is in this condition that you find you are having 3 variants. Glycogen storage disease 3A, 3B, 3C are also there in order to add to the confusion. So typically failure to thrive will be there, hypoglycemic episodes will be there, hepatomegaly, hypotonia, cardiomyopathy, cirrhosis of liver at a later part of the life. They are all the classical features in the case of the type 3 type of glycogen storage disease, CORI, is what need to be basically remembered. High protein diet is the one which is commonly used. Coming to carcinoma of the stomach, what was the question, doctor? Regarding anything about ecchlorophilia or anything? Yes, was the option was there. Okay. Now let us go to the next question. Triple deformity, what does it not include? So once a tuberculous joint gets involved, there is a development of flexion, posterolateral subluxation, external rotation and abduction, typically called the triple deformity, is what need to be remembered. Where to use the Phelan's test? How many answered it as B. Quervain's tenosynovitis? Okay, very good. No problem. I mean, Ellen's test, Phelan's test, few things are there. So, very simple. In carpal tunnel syndrome, forcible palmar flexion of the wrist, if it is done, it causes venous engorgement. And that leads to the compression of the median nerve. And the typical median nerve distribution, there is a tingling sensation which is called the Phelan's test, is what need to be remembered. Luxatio erecta is typically seen in the case of the dislocation of the shoulder. Is it inferior or anterior, doctor? Inferior shoulder dislocation is what need to be remembered. And is the typical appearance how the inferiorly dislocated shoulder in luxatio erecta looks like. Now, what is more common than inferior, doctor? Anterior subcoracoid dislocation is much more common. Coming to the intervertebral disc prolapse, the most common site will be L5 S1, and the most common nerve involved is also S1. Do you need to treat every 45-year-old man comes with a back pain, working in a revolving chair with the operative surgery of that prolapsing disc? Not required. That is the reason we do MRI. We do MRI and see what is the degree of prolapse, how is the condition of the spinal cord, etc., etc. And based on that, if the neurological symptoms are there and objective evidence of a significant prolapse is there, that is only the indication. Otherwise, at 45, 50, all of us will have some degree of prolapse inevitably. Everyone do not require surgery is what need to be basically remembered. Now let us talk about the genu valgum, doctor. This is an interesting question. All of you know rickets genu valgum is seen. Blount's disease, was it there in the options? Good. So basically what is Blount's disease, doctor? Basically they are having a typical flaring and bowing of the tibia and the femur in a symmetric fashion in the children who are less than 2 years, and they are typically develop the knock knees, and the maximal knock knee deformity will develop by the time they are 3 years old. So in Blount's we very much find the presence of the genu. And coming to the rheumatoid arthritis, anything can happen in rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. In fact, genu valgum, if you valgum, if you happen to come across an elderly person, one of the common causes is the rheumatoid arthritis is what need to be remembered. Now, is the option was there in what you call the lateral condyle of the femur fracture also? So, by exclusion this becomes the choice. In the case of the Blount's disease, valgum also will be there. So, okay, anyway we will leave it for a while. Now, let us go to the next question. Where do you use tension band wiring? Very simple. Typically, what is the purpose of the tension band wiring, doctor? It will try to convert what is called as a dynamic tensile force in a more regulated manner. It will convert a traction force into a dynamic tensile force. It will distract it into a compressive force. So what are all the locations where we use? Olecranon, greater trochanter of femur, greater tubercle of humerus, tibial tuberosity, acromion process of the scapula, and the patellar fracture. In all these locations we use the tension band wiring is what need to be remembered. Now Singh's index, actually this is a very cruel question. Do we use the Singh's index in the modern era? Unless you have you are a relative of the Singh. Singh's index is totally obsolete. In spite of that, it is current in the entrance exam. That is the story. Where are we in osteoporosis, doctor? We are in the era of DEXA. We are in the era of, you don't do any MD also, no problem. Purchase a DEXA machine, spread the pamphlets and say, modern gadget to diagnose for your future developing osteoporosis. You can come down and then get tested. So you can have a tie-up with psychiatrist. Why? because after being depressed that the bones are slightly 1% osteoporotic, they become depressed, your psychiatric friend will give you a cut to you. Then prophylactically your orthopedician will write vitamin D, collects 250 rupees and send you 150 rupees. So that way, there are much bigger ways of earning money rather than what you call doing MD, because after doing MD also you have to do all this. So on a lighter vein, so don't tell that Dr. Murli teaches these things. Singh's index, doctor, basically it is a radiograph of the proximal femur based on which in 1960, when probably Gyani Jail Singh was our president, it was there. How many answered wrong about the Singh's index? Okay, no regrets about it. Now let us go to the next question, doctor. External fixation is not used in clavicular fracture. 60-year-old lady presenting with sudden loss of the vision, which is painful loss of vision. What are the possibilities, doctor? Is it closure angle glaucoma or open angle glaucoma or angle recession? Closed angle, okay. So what is angle recession glaucoma, doctor? Typically it is seen with a blunt trauma of the eye, where there is a blockade by the lens particles of that angle leading to the onset of the glaucoma. But when you ask the history in angle recession glaucoma, generally they will not remember when that blunt trauma has happened is what need to be basically remembered. Now for the fluorescein angiography, all these three are the indications is what need to be remembered. In trachoma, the loss of vision is a late sequelae, not a very early sequelae. And coming to the symblepharon, it is the diphtheritic conjunctivitis, alkaline injuries and the trachoma which are responsible. Now let us talk about the rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, doctor. Typically there will be a presence of one small hole in the retina because of the degenerative changes which develop in a highly myopic individual. Can you tell me what is the other common cause for the rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, doctor? Trauma is the second important cause. Similarly, aphakic eyes are also more vulnerable to the rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, especially more common with the ICCE than ECCE is a very favorite question of the examiner. Mutton fat, first of all you need to know what is mutton fat. No ignorance to be pleaded on, was it Koepes nodules or mutton fat keratic precipitates? What was the question? Very good. So, now let us talk, anyway you know that it is the granulomatous uveitis where Busacker nodules, Koepe nodules and mutton fat keratic precipitate should not be basically forgotten, doctor. And now let us go to the next question. Congenital rubella typically is a nuclear cataract. Ignore the answers given there. Congenital rubella typically leads to development of the nuclear cataract is what need to be remembered. Now coming to the uveitis and the complications, let us talk about it, doctor. Uveitis can lead to a complicated cataract. It also can lead to a retrolental membrane. It can lead to panuveitis and retinal detachment. And it also in the late stages, if it is a long-standing case of uveitis, can also lead to cystoid macular edema. Was it there in the options? What was there? Filamentous keratitis was there. Okay. So cystoid macular edema was not there. Panophthalmitis was not there. Whatever it is, I mean in the sense, what you call cystoid macular edema definitely is seen in the case of the uveitis which is of a long-standing nature. And anyway complicated cataract is also seen. And there is a secondary glaucoma which also develops, and physis bulbi is another important complication of a long-standing uveitis is what need to be remembered.